Today I will be running down a crime thriller film released in 2018 titled The Kidnapping of Lizzie McVeigh. Please be advised that there will be spoilers ahead of this video, so chill out and enjoy it as I narrate it for you. Lizzie McVeigh is a young girl who works in a donut shop in Tampa, Florida. Despite Lizzie's young age, she possesses strong managerial abilities and consistently finds methods to satisfy customers. Lizzie works double shifts and rides her bicycle out of the restaurant late at night. Though, for some reasons, Lizzie doesn't want to go home, where she lives with her grandmother, Diane, and her boyfriend, Morris. Morris covertly walks into Lizzie's bedroom and takes advantage of her every night. As usual, Lizzie is riding her bicycle home at night and notices the rear vehicle parked by the side of the road and is not bothered about it. However, the car follows her for a while until she gets home. Lizzie makes the decision that morning to write a letter to Lori, her younger sister, explaining that she is trapped in her grandmother's house because of Morris's perverted behavior towards her. Lizzie longs for a typical, happy life, but it is unattainable because her mother Betty is opposed to Lizzie's idea of leaving grandma's house and has demonstrated a lack of compassion for her daughter's suffering. Diane and Morris are using Lizzie as a cash machine. They steal her restaurant money with the intention of buying drugs and booze. Morris waits outside of the house on payday and shows unhealthy interest in Lizzie. He then issues a warning to her about what will happen to her if she doesn't bring the check to him. Lizzie leaves her job after saying goodbye to her boss, takes some money, and heads back home. This time though, Lizzie feels hopeless about life and considers ending her life. The usual vehicle passes by and immediately reverses its course, speeds in Lizzie's direction and passes her. Lizzie, who is scared at the same time, discovers an abandoned vehicle parked a little while later. Tragically, the driver who was hidden behind it leapt out and seized Lizzie. Bobby Jolong dragged the defenseless Lizzie into his car before making threats against her with a gun. Lizzie falls down and gives in to the pressure because resisting him will just make things worse. After his actions, Bobby keeps her around because he is more interested in her now than he was earlier. Thus, he made the decision to take Lizzie somewhere unknown. Bobby drives this poor girl blindfolded, but thanks to her smarts, Lizzie looks in the car's interior and reads the word Magnum written on the dashboard. She also marks the streets in case she manages to get away from him. Bobby pulls her inside the building. Lizzie recognizes the green carpet on the stairs and commits their numbers to memory. Even though Lizzie is wearing a blindfold, she is able to see the predator's hands and realizes that he is a white man, not black as she had assumed. In an attempt to save her life, Lizzie willingly gives in to Bobby's demands and wears out clothes. Then he takes her to the bathroom to take a shower forcefully and repeats it for his own satisfaction. Bobby again attacks Lizzie once more and keeps threatening her with a gun, telling her that there will be terrible repercussions if she doesn't comply with his demands. Lizzie wonders if she will ever experience those joyful memories of laughing on the beach with her sister and her beloved uncle and aunt at that trying time. Lizzie is afraid to disclose her true name and age. So she tells Bobby that she's Carol and that she recently turned 20 to calm him down. The following morning, Diane went to the Tampa police station and reported the disappearance of her granddaughter to a police officer named Lopez. But Lizzie's mother, Betty, is indifferent to her daughter's disappearance. She believes Lizzie is probably just run off and ungrateful to her grandmother, so no one should be bothered about her. However, Lori is certain that Lizzie would not just run off without informing her, and she believes something terrible happened to her sister. Bobby grabs the girl once again. Lizzie acknowledges that her captor is mentally ill and is living with psychological trauma from previous women, so she talks to him well, and the victim gains Bobby's trust as a result and unties her hands. To start the police investigation about the missing girl, Officer Lopez talked to the restaurant owner where Lizzie last worked on the night of her disappearance. Unfortunately, he hadn't recognized anything unusual by the time she left his restaurant. While Bobby is preparing sandwiches for Lizzie, he gets irritated after learning from the news report about the underage girl who has gone missing from the late-night shift at a local donut shop. Lizzie denied this news by stating that the news was talking about someone else since she lied to him about her age. Bobby grabs her once again. Lizzie recalls the day Lori paid a visit to the grandmother house, knowing that Morris wanted to use her sister. Lori advised her never to give up when fighting for her life. Lizzie requested to use the toilet, where she started to look around, thinking about every detail she could use to incriminate this pervert just in case she managed to escape from him. Lizzie leaves her fingerprints on the mirrors, towel rack, and under the toilet seat. When Bobby breaks inside the restrooms to grab Lizzie, she psychologically influences the twisted man by offering him a glass of water. During the night, Lizzie notices that Bobby is seemingly asleep, so she tries to call the police for rescue, but Bobby instantly seizes her attempt and threatens her with a gun. Lizzie asks for forgiveness, stating it will never happen again. She tries to convince him that her sick father is waiting for the restaurant's money to buy medicine. Lizzie recalls the conversation she had with her mother, explaining the bullying she had experienced from her grandma's boyfriend every night. Betty lost her temper and shouted back to her that she deserved this sort of behavior and should be grateful because there is no better life waiting for her. Despite being held captive, Lizzie keeps on putting the evidence in Bobby's residence, including throwing the hairpin and the hair on the floor. She recalls the day she got tired of Morris and his bad behavior towards her and was prepared to take her life. Lizzie asks Bobby to let her go home and promises him to come back, and she'll be ready to become his girlfriend. She swears not to divulge any information to anyone. After hearing the news that the police had intensified their manhunt for the kidnapper, Bobby decided to get the girl somewhere safer. He made a stop at the gas station to refuel his vehicle, where Lizzie bit her finger and wiped the blood on the seat. Following a 26-hour abduction, Bobby decides to get rid of the captive after reaching his favorite place. He would want to take the girl's life, but he refrained from pulling the trigger when Lisa pleaded not to inform anyone about what had just happened. Bobby ordered Lizzie to wait 5 minutes, and she shouldn't take off her blinds before he rides away. Lizzie takes off running. Bobby decided to chase after her when he noticed in the mirror that she was sprinting from the scene. Luckily, Lizzie was able to conceal herself behind one of the cars parked on the street. Eventually, Lizzie returns home and informs Diane and Morris of what happened. But no one is believing her story. Morris accuses her of running away from home to see her boyfriend and intends to beat her, but Diane stops him from doing so. Diane called and reported to the detective, but she believes the granddaughter's kidnapping story to be sick lies. However, Officer Lopez demands to speak with the girl face-to-face because she's a minor who claims to be raped. Diane warns Lizzie of the repercussions should she reveal to the detective about Morris's behavior towards her. Lopez picked Lizzie up from the house and accompanied her to the police station for questioning. Although the girl does not have any bruises on her body, she insisted that the twisted man took advantage of her in his vicinity. Lizzie clarifies to him that the kidnapper threatened to kill her. That's why she didn't resist him, because she wanted to survive. The officer begins to question Lizzie's sincerity, wondering why she didn't even scream for help the moment he untied her. Lopez convinced himself that she's faking stories to get attention. A little while later, 2 female detectives speak with Lizzie to make sure that she's speaking the truth. She goes into great detail about her assailant's apartment's green carpet on the stairs and describes the twisted man's face. Lizzie is terrified after realizing that no officer wants to believe her kidnapping story because it seems too detached. Detectives from the Tampa police station are working on significant crimes concurrently while they search for the criminal who has terrorized the region for 9 years. Most of the victims are ladies, with one thing in common: all the victims were found bound with threads on their bodies. Sergeant Larry Pinkerton, who specializes in sexual offenses, is sent to meet Lizzie. She's afraid to open up about it to him, fearing he will also not believe her story like the other officers. After a little persuasion, she accepted. Pinkerton learned about the kidnapper's back car with 2 doors, the red bucket seats with the word Magnum on the car's dashboard, the green carpet on the steps, and most importantly, that he was white with a stubbled mustache on his cheeks. It's impossible to come up with all of this after hearing the girl's narrative, so he decides to proceed with the investigations. Lori learns about the incident. She then begs her mother to bring Lizzie back home. However, Betty still doesn't seem to care what happened to her daughter. Lizzie described her kidnapper's appearance to the portrait maker before revealing the terrible experience she has been going through in her grandmother's house for years. Sergeant Pinkerton made the decision quickly and detained Lizzie's grandmother's boyfriend. The police decided to take Lizzie away from her grandmother's house to the Minor Witness Protection Center. But she is still traumatized and can't sleep during the night. Pinkerton discovers that Lizzie's kidnapper and the recent 8 victims is actually the same person due to the fact that red fibers are found on their bodies. Fortunately, Lizzie managed to survive the twisted killer. In an attempt to aid the police in the inquiry, Lizzie consents to taking the police officers to the location where Bobby dropped her and fled the scene. One of the detectives soon spots a car similar to the one described and takes a picture of it and its owner. Lizzie has a nightmare in which she sees Bobby try to strangle her, which causes her to wake up in horror. Upon examining the photos taken by the officer, Lizzie verifies that this is indeed the kidnapper on the top left. The cops immediately make an arrest and take the twisted man into their custody. When they discover Lizzie's bloodstain in his car seat, they realize that everything was described correctly. The police discover hairpins on the ground, fingerprints on the mirrors and towel rack, plus other proof of the criminal's guilt in the apartment. The investigators congratulated Lizzie a short while later on the successful capture of Bobby Jolong, their serial killer and her kidnapper. After some time, Lizzie gives Lori a call and expresses gratitude to her sister for being the only person to believe her in the first place, which prompted the police to launch their investigations. Lizzie gives Sergeant Pinkerton a heartfelt hug and bids farewell to him. Auntie Carol and Uncle Jim take her to their place. Months later, Lizzie writes her mother a letter informing her that she has at last found happiness and the loving family she was craving. Years later, Lizzie became a sheriff deputy, specializing in sex crimes against minors. She is now a content grandma and mother, and she is still friends with Sergeant Larry Pinkerton, who calls her the hero of his career. 35 years after his crimes, Bobby was executed in 2019 with the use of injections. This brings the movie to an end. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more of my videos. Have a good day.